The average social enterprise in the state of Victoria, Australia, receives support from 12 volunteers every year.
Welcome to The Human Factor, the show where we explore social change through the eyes of social entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders. My name is Melanie Roussin, her name is Erin McCabe, and we are your hosts.
Approximately 6.1 million people over the age of 18 volunteer every year in Australia. And from the 21st to the 27th of May, we're celebrating and saying thank you to our volunteers as part of National Volunteer Week. In honour of this, today on the podcast, we're chatting to Matthew Boyd, founder of Business with Purpose, Vollie. After years of volunteer work himself, Matt was inspired to create the online marketplace that connects skilled people to nonprofits and businesses with purpose for skills-based online volunteering. Existing solely online, Vollie hopes to break down the barriers that many Australians, especially young Australians, face when it comes to volunteering. In their own words, they're bringing sexy back to volunteering. So hi, Matt. Thanks so much for joining us on The Human Factor. Please fill in the gaps in our intro and tell us how you describe yourself.
Do you know what? I think I'm actually just going to finish this podcast now, if that's all right, because you've absolutely nailed the intro. I think you've said it better than I've ever said it over our 17-month journey. Thank you very much for capturing what we're doing so well. Really, for us with Vollie, it's about making it really easy for people to be able to connect with causes they care about. So I've done a lot of volunteering myself. I was never really fulfilled with my full-time job. I've worked in agencies in the past, like creative agencies, and I've worked in a few different corporate gigs, and just could never find that job that really ticked all the boxes for me. So I started volunteering a lot. I would go to the Royal Children's Hospital with my dogs. I would work at animal sanctuaries. I would work with mental health organisations, environmental groups. I became absolutely obsessed with volunteering, and it's changed my life completely. But it also highlighted to me that there are some frustrations in the process, and it can be really hard to get started volunteering, like finding the opportunities. There's often a lot of red tape to go through, filling out forms, induction days, and back and forth with volunteering managers. And what myself and my co-founder, Tanya, noticed during this period when we were volunteering so much is there was a huge demand from our friends and colleagues at the time. And I'm 33, I was around 30 at the time. So I'm a millennial and surrounded by millennial friends and colleagues, and they all wanted to volunteer. They just didn't know how to get started. So we looked at a lot of the research out there and noticed that millennials volunteer significantly less than baby boomers do. And we started to run our own research, focus groups and one-on-one interviews to ask the question, why don't you volunteer? And the answers we got back time and time again were, we don't think we've got the time, don't know where to start, and overwhelmed by the fact that there's 55,000 registered charities in Australia. So we got to work designing a platform where if you're putting your hand up and you want to get involved, you can. You put in the skills you have and the causes you care about on Vollie, and we show you project-based opportunities that you can complete from wherever you are in the world and around your busy personal and professional schedule. We're really pushing online volunteering in this country, and we think it's perfect for this on-demand age, this gig economy in which we live. When we want to watch a TV show, we expect to be watching it within seconds on Netflix and booking cabs through Uber and the various other apps that are coming out. So we're just trying to make it really easy, and it's working really well after 17 months of operation, which is great to see.
That's awesome. You're basically disrupting volunteering. So from my own experience working with volunteers, I've only ever worked in my professional life in charities. So I have a myriad of volunteers that I've worked with. I know that working with volunteers no day can be the same. So tell us about what your typical day would look like.
Our typical day, or my typical day, would be quite a few hours in the office. We're going through a really exciting phase and a fantastic growth phase at the moment. So there's a lot of interest from nonprofit organisations. So, there's a lot of emails and phone calls and coffee catch-ups even with charity organisations. We do quite a lot of speaking. So we're often speaking at universities and talking to universities about how we can engage their students as well. We're speaking with corporates. So there's a lot of talking, a lot of conversations with, I suppose, the different users within our marketplace of charities, universities, corporates, and even volunteers. Volunteers are signing up in their truckloads, which is really great to see. But there's questions from them as well. I have to say, my absolute favourite part of Vollie, and I say this time and time again, is meeting a new charity organisation, and it could be a great big household name, or it can just be a grassroots organisation that in the early stages of beginning their startup. But I love speaking to them and saying, what are your pain points right now? What's on the to-do list? What does this year look like? What campaigns you have coming up? And just helping to solve those problems, because we know that the Vollie team, that's quite small right now, is backed by an army of talented people who want to get involved. So it's really exciting for these conversations to be had with charities, and they're like, we need this technology solution, we need this communication strategy, we need this legal document produced, or whatever it is. And we're like, yes, we can do that. Because when I was volunteering, it was just myself, and I was trying to do as much as I possibly could for the organisations I was aligned with. But with Vollie, we're building this community, and it's really exciting to see it grow.
As a business with purpose, how do you ensure that you're working towards achieving your social mission while still making a profit?
Well, we are a certified B Corp as of early this year, which we're very proud of, Mel. We really are a business for good. I said it from the beginning, but I was having a conversation with someone today defining a social enterprise, and essentially it can just be a term that you slap on to your business, because most of the time you are a private business and you're generating revenue, and it's important to have that purpose. It's important to have that mission statement with what you're doing. So because we're a certified B Corp, we have, if you guys are familiar with the B Corp certification and
We are. We have had Charlie, the marketing manager from B Corp, on the podcast before.
B Corp is amazing. It's the future of businesses with purpose, and Vollie wanted to be part of that from the beginning. I really wanted that for the organisation. We had to wait a little while, because you do have to wait a certain amount of time into your journey. But we passed the B Corp certification with flying colours, and that is across operating this business in consideration for the environment, the community, staff, all these different areas. So we have that purpose. Also at this stage, Vollie's still early on in the journey, and we are generating revenue, but our impact today is approaching $300,000 in terms of the value that we've generated, the non-profits that are using the platform. So that value will always be so much higher. The costs involved in utilising Vollie for charity organisations are really small, and typically return 20 times the value for every dollar spent. So that's what we're so proud of. Through working to solve charities' problems, we're able to increase their impact so much. And we try to do the same with corporates as well. And we're working with more and more corporate organisations and universities to say, your staff or your students have all this talent, and to channel that into the non-profit sector can solve big, big problems. Like, there's so many problems in this world. So it's a real people power play from us. And, the impact has been huge to date, which we're really proud of.
Good job. It sounds like an amazing journey. But what I'm curious about, Matt, is take us through what you consider as your worst entrepreneurial moment to date. Tell us that story.
Oh, God. There isn't one that's really sticking out to me, like one bad mistake. The thing is, you learn lessons as you progress. So, okay, here's something. I am a perfectionist. I never really realized how much of a perfectionist I was until I began this journey with Vollie. But things go wrong constantly, and striving for perfection with everything you do, every day, and making sure, all your emails are read, or, that trying to think of another example. There's lots of stuff that goes wrong, and I've only realized very recently that things aren't perfect, and you just need to appreciate that and just roll with the punches sometimes. And that's actually helped, because it takes the pressure off, and it means that you can be more flexible with the business. It doesn't happen overnight. We're a year and a quarter into the journey now, and even the response from charities initially, I thought we're going to launch this platform. Everybody's going to want to sign up. It's just going to go nuts from day one, but it takes time, and there's so many different things that you learn along the journey. I'm very fortunate to be supported by my co-founder Tanya, who we balance each other out really well. I'm more of the dreamer, and she's more of a realist, so she brings me down to earth. And I suppose just something else as well that I'll just mention is that I learned you can't have an ego in business. Like, you've really got to stay humble, park your ego at the door, or just work on your ego just generally in life, because it can really hinder your performance. So where I'm at mentally now as an entrepreneur compared to where I was at the start of 2016, once I quit my job and begun this journey, I'm such a different person. So there've been plenty of learnings along the way, and I'm sure I'll continue to improve in the years to come.
So you have touched on a little bit there, Matt, but what would you say has been your biggest lesson throughout creating Vollie, and in the context of how our listeners can actually take that lesson and apply it to their own cause?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to trust your judgment when you're running a business, when you're building a social enterprise. You just need to trust your gut, trust your head, trust your heart with all sorts of decisions, whether it's which graphic designer to align with, or ultimately, do you go for that investor that's got that offer on the table and wanting to be a big part of your business? Whatever that decision is, you need to trust your own judgment and take your time with decisions as well, because certain people will try to rush you. Sometimes it's a tactic, and sometimes it's a very dangerous tactic. So you really do need to take your time. And something else I'd just like to say, which I kind of touched on previously, but it does take years to build that successful business that's in your head, that you dream of running one day. And the startup ecosystem here in Melbourne and even in Australia is just becoming more and more exciting, almost by the month. And you'll see certain startups, and they just raised $1 million, and they just went across to San Francisco and were invited to be, part of this particular event. And you can't compare yourself to other organizations. You're on your own journey. And as long as you work hard, and you will get there, learning from your mistakes, but it's all part of that process. So I think there are two key things that I've taken to heart. I suppose as well, just like with negativity, learn from it. So when you're really asking your customers about your product or your service, if there is negativity there, like, learn from it and look to improve what you're doing.
These are very good insight, Matt. And I think that, the idea of taking time, because we live in a world that's so fast. We used to have, we go on Netflix and it's on demand, and we want a cab, like you mentioned before, and we call Uber, and everything is so fast. So when something takes time, we think, is there something wrong with me? So I think it's a really good lesson. So on the flip side, Matt, what is the greatest idea that you've had to date? So take us through how you took that aha moment and made it happen.
Okay, all right. So yeah, Vollie's definitely my best idea to date. So I've mentioned previously, I'm a dreamer. I consider myself creative, and I have lots of ideas. And, I'll take my dogs out for a walk in the evening, and I'll think, oh, this would be a great idea for a business. And then I'll realize that it was done 10 years ago, or it just makes no sense whatsoever. If I'm not excited about it, the next day or a week later or a month later, then, I'll lose interest and not pursue it any further. But to talk about Vollie and the journey there, so it was a lived experience, which I think is important. And I think, you've got to have, like so many people say, you have to have the passion for your business. That's what's going to carry you through, because if it's just something that's going to make money, it's just going to destroy your soul, because it does take a lot of time, and it's the late nights in the office and the points where you are just absolutely exhausted. You keep pushing. For me, I'm driven by the fact that I can see enormous impact from what we're doing with Vollie, and, real change in the way that people can give back. I think there's such a demand for it. So I volunteered a lot. That kind of happened by accident, just because I was looking to do something that I thought I would love. So that's a lesson in following your heart and, doing things that you enjoy. But then once I had the initial idea for it, which was probably 6 months before I ultimately quit my job, I spent months researching, developing a pretty average business plan, but a business plan nonetheless, just packing in all these different thoughts and ideas around marketing and potential, revenue models, and a lot of market research. I looked at a lot of secondary research, and then I spent a great deal of time meeting. I knew a lot of charities, so I bought a lot of coffees and sat down with them and said, this is what I want to build. What do you think? And there was an overwhelmingly positive response from that. And then I started speaking to my friends and saying, would you volunteer in this way? And there was good positivity there. So really research the market before you get to work. But then ultimately, when you do take the plunge, you just need to surround yourself with really good people. You're good at what you're good at, and you want to find those other pieces of the puzzle in terms of your business. And it takes time, and you go to a lot of startup events and networking events and conferences and all that sort of stuff, and know your sector really, really well. But then look to align with the people that can bring your vision to life. And there were some amazing key people from the start that helped make Vollie a reality. And then from there, you learn, day after day, week after week, and you progress, and you get a bit of luck here and there, and then you work really hard and you feel like nothing's going your way. But as long as, it's like 3 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you may take, 1 step forward, 3 steps back certain weeks, but you just keep persevering towards what you're trying to do, and you don't go alone. You align with people that can support what you're doing.
So when I've worked with volunteers, I've always been really humbled by the people that I meet and the stories that they share. And I guess my question is, being based solely online, how does Vollie go about learning and sharing their volunteer stories? And have these stories been successful in attracting more volunteers and businesses?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, Erin, and it's something we thought about from the start, because physical volunteering will always exist. We're not trying to make that obsolete by any means. It's an amazing thing to do, and I'll even continue to do it. What we do with each project that goes live, first of all, every project that's gone live it's just had serious impact to it, and every project has its impact statement, as well as clearly defined roles and responsibilities and timing. But the impact of that project, that children's organisation is stating that by you helping us with this communications plan, you're going to help us to save X amount of money, or you will be able to impact the lives of this many children through your work. So we really highlight the impact. There's the ability with Vollie to be able to Skype or hang out and engage with the charity organisation in that particular way. And then we're constantly sharing stories on our own channels, through the media, just highlighting the impact, and also heroing our skilled volunteers and the impact that they're having, because it's remarkable, and it really is so important to our charity organisations. We have that flexibility, so that we have this Kenyan charity that we're starting to work with at the moment called Youth Alliance, and they're based in Nairobi, and they're looking to support young adults there and give them better outcomes and opportunities. And through Vollie, we're going to connect them with mentors and people that can support them and support this organisation. Now, to be able to do that, sitting at home in Melbourne or Sydney or Perth, wherever you are, and to be able to have that impact, halfway across the world, that's pretty powerful. And we are this global community now as well. And that person who volunteers may end up going to Nairobi at some point and meeting Susan, the CEO of Youth Alliance, and that I think that's just a really, really powerful story. And especially in countries such as Australia, and I'm originally from the UK, from London, we have this opportunity to do so much more. And I think that's really cool to be able to impact different parts of the world and be able to do it from your home or from your office or favorite coffee shop. So yeah.
It's a brilliant idea, definitely. And because, it is a new way of volunteering. And I guess with change comes resistance. So you've touched a little bit about how you took people out for coffees and things like that. But what I'd like to know is what do you find is was or still is the biggest barrier for organization to kind of jump on board with the idea of online volunteering? And how did you overcome it?
There's a lot of education with what we do, Mel. So some charities get it straight away. And, yesterday I was speaking to this quite small organisation, an animal shelter, and half an hour after the phone call, they'd signed up and already started posting their first project. So that's great. They need a website update. They need a graphic designer, and I think they needed SEO as well. But others, it's a little bit more of an education piece. So, we talk about the fact that people can support you from wherever they are in Australia. If you're based in Melbourne and you've got a skilled volunteer in Darwin or Cairns, they can support your requirements. And so we just workshop with our organisations and just ask questions such as, what's on that to-do list, which needs to be done in the next month or so. What are your pain points right now? What does the next year look like? And just having those discussions. And all of a sudden, I had a phone call earlier today, and initially the CEO, she wasn't really sure how it would fit in, but as soon as you start to ask those questions, all of a sudden she's like, oh, actually, yeah, we've just brought this new marketing person on, and certain projects could really support her role. So if we could get some content creators, that'd be amazing. And if we could develop a social campaign, then that would really help. And all of a sudden, it all starts happening, and we've got that momentum, and the ideas are flowing. So yeah, I think no matter whether you're the biggest non-profit in this country or just a grassroots organisation, there's always tasks that need completed. So just through conversation and spending time speaking to these organisations, we find that quite a few projects soon arise.
In the context of National Volunteer Week, which is coming up, what tips do you have for social entrepreneurs to get the most out of their volunteers?
So for social entrepreneurs who have their own social enterprises to get the most out of their volunteers, I think just generally with volunteering, it can be the worst experience in the world for someone if the cause that they're representing isn't aligned with their passions and what they care about. And if it's a cause that's very close to their heart, then it can be a life-changing experience. So I always say this to volunteering, that it's really important. It's not just about, matching the skill set that's required. This particular charity organisation, they need an accountant, and this accountant comes in. The cause is really important, and we all have different causes that we care about, enough to go around and enough to cover all the different wonderful organisations out there. So it's just, I think once you match those passions with within somebody, and if that's matched with your organisation and what you're all about, then you're going to get the best outcome.
I love it. And it's so true. There's so much to be said for value alignment and how that can, add value to your own life as well. So we are coming to the end of the interview. So our final questions, we call it a bit of a lightning round, and we like our guests to just tell us the first thing that comes to mind. And so with that, what are you most excited about today, Matt?
Business-wise or personally?
Whatever you like.
What I'm most excited about is, well, I suppose that we're speaking about Vollie. So the future of what Vollie can be. There've been a lot of hard months building the business, but I'm most excited about what the future holds. I love to dive into new cultures and I love to travel. And if I can do that with Vollie and continue to grow our impact, that will be my dream job. It will surpass, my dream of being a footballer when I was a kid.
Awesome. What was the one thing that was holding you back from starting Vollie?
Confidence, probably. I never really considered myself a leader. I had a good group of friends growing up, but, I was kind of the follower, like there was that leader in the group. And confidence is just a massive thing in any part of life. Like if you have confidence, then you really can achieve anything, because even if you just persevere, you will get there believing in yourself.
Fake it till you make it. So what do you see as being Vollie's biggest challenge in the next 12 months?
Well, we're at a point now where we're still a small team, and we're kind of working at capacity. So we want to align with strategic partners, whoever that might be. We're looking for impact investors to align with our organisation, because Tanya and myself as the core founders, we work with contractors. We have some amazing interns that work with us and a couple of people in our accounts team. But yeah, we are a relatively small organisation, and the tech does so much, but we need that human factor. So we're at a point now where we're very, very busy, and we want to make the right sort of partnership, and we're going to take our time, because the wrong one could be toxic for us. But that's a challenge and an opportunity in itself.
Do you think you could find capacity on Vollie?
Yeah, I know. We want to find additional people. It's ironic, isn't it? But yeah, we're not going to do it, I don't think, just because that Vollie is for the charity organisations that we work with. So we get a number of people like reaching out to us, because we've got Facebook chat on the website and the email addresses are all there. So we get quite a few people reaching out. We've probably had a few dozen people who have reached out to us wanting to work with our organisation, and of that, probably on a casual basis at the very least, probably half a dozen have come on board. Again, it's that sort of skills and values fit. But yeah, I don't think we could use that platform. Not for the time being, anyway.
Tell us, what's the best advice that you've ever received?
So when I'd quit my job and I'd planned Vollie, and I sat down with two hard-nosed business professionals in their late 50s, early 60s, and I said, I want to build this platform. It's going to change the world. It's going to change the way that people can give back. And the expressions on their faces didn't change one bit. And I was going into my early stage. I used to pitch Vollie in about 10 minutes. I suppose I couldn't quite articulate what it was. And they didn't change their expression whatsoever. And they just looked at me and they said, how are you going to be sustainable? How are you going to generate revenue? Any business that sticks around generates revenue. How are you going to be sustainable? And that really was huge for me. And we worked for the coming weeks on, refining Vollie. And they hammered down on me about that, because, it does take time. You look at the most successful charity organizations, social enterprises, it takes time, and, the numbers have got to stack up as well. So yeah, you've got to be sustainable as an organization. Otherwise, no matter what you want to do, how amazing it is, you're not going to stick around to be able to do it.
Excellent. So sadly, it is time to start wrapping up. But if you could leave our listeners just a few words that they would really take to heart today, what would they be?
They would be that life is short. The number of people that I've spoken to who have not gone, because when you're building your idea, a lot of people say like, oh yeah, I thought about that, 10, 20 years ago. If you've got a business in mind, if you've got an idea, specifically if it's going to make a positive impact in this world, you can absolutely achieve it. Australia is becoming this amazing ecosystem for startups. There's always people to support you. I very quickly went from feeling like an absolute noob in the space and looking for a mentor around every corner to all of a sudden being contacted by university students after a talk, or just generally people getting in touch saying like, can I buy you a coffee? So I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm still needing mentors, but I'm mentoring other people. So it's an amazing environment. If you're not happy in your job and if you feel like you can do something else, then you can absolutely do it. There's great support in this country, and I love what I'm doing. It's the most insanely challenging thing I've ever done before. I'll take my last full-time job and times the workload by 10 in any given week. But it's just, I love it. And I'm really going for it. And, it's a case of, better to live with failure than regret.
That's a beautiful message there, Matt. So before we say goodbye, just tell us the best way to reach out to you, but also to sign up as either as a volunteer or for charities that needs volunteer. How do they go about it?
Yeah, sure, Mel. So you can jump on vollie.com.au, vollie.com.au. All the details are on there. You can Facebook chat with us from the homepage. You can find our contact details down the bottom. Anybody that specifically wants to have a chat with me, I'm happy to have that conversation. It's matt@vollie.com.au, MATT. So yeah, hope to hear from some of your listeners.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the Human Factor podcast.
Thank you very much, Erin. It's been lovely speaking with you and Mel.
The goodie bag. Good goodie bag. Mel, what are you putting in the goodie bag?
Just keeps getting better and better. Okay, so we are both animal lovers.
That is correct.
And then I found this guy who is the CEO of an organization called
Animal Ortho Care.
Thank you. His name is Derek Campana. And basically he's helped over 15,000 animals. And with either they had a problem at birth or they had an accident of some sort, but basically building a new legs, I guess, for this animal. It's super cute. We're going to share this video through our social media. But the one that I really like was that he actually helped. I'm a huge elephant lover. And he's helped recently 2 Asian elephants that have lost their legs through landmine? Yeah, in Thailand. And that's something quite unbelievable. So well done to you, Derek. We love your work.
Yeah, and it's very fitting as today I am wearing a brooch that was made out of an old landmine from Cambodia. So
wow.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm putting in the goodie bag. So I'm just here to bring the goodness level down a notch into the world of the internet. And I am putting a Instagram page in the goodie bag this week. And it's a bit silly, but sometimes when you're trying to fight the good fight of social change, you need to be silly because otherwise it gets really depressing. So I found this Instagram page a couple of days ago, actually, and it's called Zero Waste Memes. And Mel did think at one point that I was referring to a mime. However, I am, of course, referring to a meme, which is a image or a picture or a video that is of some piece of culture that has been appropriated by the internet into a humorous piece of media.
This is such an educational podcast.
And so Zero Waste Memes is basically an Instagram page that is dedicated to memes about living your best zero waste life. So there's just some brilliant ones there about when, you hear a date say, I don't want a straw, and you fall in love with them. There's just some great things about sort of having a bit of fun with the whole zero waste movement, because sometimes it is one of those things where it can feel a little bit preachy. It might feel a little bit like you're always telling people to stop wasting plastic and to stop taking actions that are actually really bad for the environment. And so it's just really a little bit of fun that is also good for the world.
I love it.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of The Human Factor. If you enjoyed it, please hit subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Then you can head over to our page, The Human Factor Podcast, on Instagram or Facebook, and join the conversation. Tell us what you thought of this episode today, and if you have thoughts or insights to add to anything Matt said, leave us a comment.
Or you can tweet us at _Human Factor, or visit the website humanfactor.com.au and leave us a voicemail or a message. This show is just one part of a community that wants to affect and grow social change. If you have a topic or a person that you'd like us to feature on the show, please let us know.
You're all awesome, and we'll see you next time.